Hey, everybody, welcome to the Sky Lounge podcast, episode number 230. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Follow me at the Sky Lounge on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Google Music. And also check out the Sky Lounge on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Without any further ado, let's get shit started with episode number 230. Hockey Heartbreaks, heading home hurriedly. On to round one. And boys and girls, before we get started with round one tomorrow, we have to talk about everything that happened before, what's coming. My God, ladies and gentlemen. The last week and a half or so of hockey has been some incredible shit. Now, here's the thing. I'm actually including the exhibition and the round-robin games in this conversation. Because it's fucking hot. So I gotta include that shit up there. But the playoff qualifiers have been something else. They really have. And yeah, the round-robin games didn't have the same intensity, the same quality, the same urgency as the playoff qualifiers, but the round-robin was there to determine the seedings for round one of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And here's the curious part, boys and girls. A couple weeks ago, I made a educated guessing video on the NHL restart. And not to be smug or anything, but your boy got all the fucking teams right for the Eastern Conference. Now, the one seed for the Eastern Conference is the Philadelphia Flyers. Number 2, following them, is the Tampa Bay Lightning. Number 3, the Washington Capitals. And the number 4 seed in the Eastern Conference, the President's Trophy winner, in the Boston Bruins, who, mind you, boys and girls, they were just in a Stanley Cup final last season. Yet they went winless in the round robin. Yeah, I know. It's a fucking 4+ month layoff, right? And you come back, you're not physically the same as you were, during the season in March. That momentum gets killed off for whatever your team may have been, right? So I understand the winless kind of way of the Boston Bruins. But I did say the Boston Bruins were going to go winless in the round robin. So you're welcome, kids. You're fucking welcome. Although I wish I could have the same smugness about the Western Conference seedings, because I was completely off. Like, the Vegas Golden Knights getting the 1 seed came as a complete surprise to me, because I thought they were seriously going to go 1-1-1. 1 win, 1 loss, 1 overtime loss. Yet, Vegas won all 3 games. That genuinely surprised me. They looked pretty damn good doing it. Robin Lehner looked fantastic. Now, Marc-Andre Fleury didn't have a great game against a very sloppy St. Louis Blues, which we will talk about in a bit. But I could only imagine round 1, game 1, you're going to start Robin Lehner. You probably are. Because I would just say, based on contract situation, you play him out right now. You have Fleury for at least another year or 2. So test out Lehner, see if he's good. And if he's not, put Fleury in there. That's the beauty of having a 1A, 1B goaltender. You can switch shit around if things aren't going good enough. Ask John Tortorella with Korpisalo's and fucking Elvis Merzlikins. Just fantastic stuff over there. You need that goalie tandem. But Vegas grabbing the 1 seed did really come off as a surprise for me. But good shit either way. And the number 2 seed in the West is the Colorado Avalanche, followed by the number 3 seed in the Dallas Stars, and the number 4 seed in the St. Louis Blues. Stanley Cup champions of 2019, yet winless in the round robin. I know there's no direct correlation there. I just talked about that with the Boston Bruins, but yeah, this St. Louis team did not look dialed in. They looked just kind of lackadaisical at times, and just very curious how, these teams in the round robin, how are they going to kick themselves in the ass to feel motivated and to find that hunger and drive like these fucking playoff qualifier teams have been going through. Dude, the playoff qualifiers, the best of 5 series, 8 games, 8 series for the NHL restart has been unbelievable. It has just been some real intense fun hockey to watch. And, you know, because there were 8 series, there were 8 very, very different storylines. And here's the thing. There were some early send-offs, of course. We talked about the Calgary Flames, you know, knocking off the Winnipeg Jets, you know, after Scheifele and Laine were out of the lineup, and Hellebuyck just kind of laid an egg after game 3 or 4. So, well, actually, after game 3, he was actually fucking dog shit. But Calgary was one of those teams that pulled off the early win. But obviously, we discussed the Carolina Hurricanes kind of in excess at times because the Rangers were done so early. They got swept. They got swept 3-0. But maybe that could have been on the benefit of the Rangers. And we'll talk about that here in a bit. After we talk about Black Friday. Black Friday was August 7th, 2020, in regards to the playoff qualifiers, where 5 series ended in 4 games. And you would be surprised some of the teams that were knocked out. So the first series within the Black Friday, games was the New York Islanders knocking out the Florida Panthers 3-1. And I wasn't surprised by this at all. I wasn't. I mean, I honestly thought Bobrovsky was one of those fucking pieces that, yeah, sure, you paid a lot of money, but he's not good enough in my eyes. And the defense also just doing Florida no favors. And Florida, after about, 10 years, finally parts ways with Dale Talon, the GM. I wonder how you're going to fucking figure things out in the next this offseason and next season. How are you going to fucking figure out this whole Bobrovsky thing? Because ownership sounds like they're impatient as shit after just a year, buying Bobrovsky on that ridiculous contract. But Florida is going to have to do some soul searching. They are. I mean, they got their ass kicked by the Islanders. They should have been swept, but the Islanders kind of got lackadaisical in Game 3. So they were one of the first victims of Black Friday, the Panthers. And the Predators followed suit. The Nashville Predators fell to the Arizona Coyotes 3-1. And you can't help but feel disappointed if you're a Nashville fan, right? You got a pretty loaded squad, relatively speaking. Now, special teams, maybe. Goaltender issues at times, but I just look at that offense and just how it kind of petered out at the end. And Arizona had Nashville by the numbers. And it seemingly close at times, but I think Arizona really found their shit in Game 2. And after that, it just didn't really look like they were going to lose the series in that sense, right? Was it Game 2 that they won? No, Game 2 they lost, right? Game 3. I'm thinking of Game 3. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Nashville fans, but yeah, the Preds just had that one decent game. Everything else just kind of farted out. So, Nashville, out the playoffs. Bye-bye. And holy shit, dude. The Pittsburgh Penguins being knocked out by the Montreal Canadiens 3-1. Wasn't really a surprise, more along the lines of shock. I mean, good Lord, dude. Pittsburgh looked slow out there. They looked distracted. They looked just like shit. And Montreal may not be the best team. And I know there's a lot of people saying, oh, they don't deserve to be in that spot. They were the 12th seed. Well, the fucking 12th seed just vanquished Sidney Crosby, Malkin, and Mike Sullivan's fucking Penguins. There's going to be a lot of fucking thinking for the Penguins in this offseason. And spoilers, you didn't win the fucking number 1 overall pick. So what's the solution now? How are you going to move off some, excess contracts? Can you bring him some fucking help on the blue line? What are you going to do about Matt Murray? You're going to hold on to him until Seattle takes a shit or trade him off for something better? I have no idea. These are questions that Penguins are going to have to answer for themselves, and it's going to be some really soul-crushing shit when they find out the answer isn't going to be easy. And this is the same sentiment I could talk about with the Edmonton Oilers, who fell to the Chicago Blackhawks 3-1. Another 12-seed team. And here's the thing, dude. Leon Draisaitl, Hart, Ted Lindsay finalists. You have Connor McDavid. I mean, Koskinen's been playing pretty well. But I think really Mike Smith in game one was really what boned the Edmonton Oilers. And that became just a domino effect into just more and more failures. And it's nothing to discredit the Chicago Blackhawks because they performed so admirably. And you know, the mixture of veterans and young guys in that Chicago squad is going to be dangerous moving forward. But Edmonton looked terrible. I mean, they choked on themselves, and it was just hilarious, admittedly, because, you know, Pacific Division, you know, rival fan, I don't want to see them win nor advance. So I got a good chuckle out of it, but kind of crazy to see. Just kind of crazy to see Edmonton getting knocked the fuck out by a 12th seed. But here's the curious part. The Vancouver Canucks and Minnesota Wild series was a lot closer than I thought, but the result was still 3-1 in the favor of the Vancouver Canucks. And the Canucks look like they're coming through. I mean, they look like all the young kids that they got over the last few years. They're gelling, they're clicking. I mean, Markstrom looks pretty great as a goaltender, and it's not to really shit on Minnesota either, though, man. I mean, Minnesota was solid this series, and I thought amongst the losers, I could give them a lot more kudos than anybody else. I mean, yeah, you do have, you know, maybe some scoring issues moving forward that you got to figure out, but overall, I wouldn't say it's an extremely disappointing season for the Minnesota Wild. Maybe sad because you were pretty close, but Vancouver takes that win in the series. And man, you thought those 5 fucking games were fun. What ends up happening with the 6th series that was involved in Black Friday goes to game 5. Now, you know what series I'm talking about, boys and girls. If you don't, it is the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Columbus Blue Jackets play-in series. You know, playoff qualifier series that started in the favor of the Columbus Blue Jackets 2-1 on Friday. And Columbus looked like they had it. They looked like they had it. You know, by the end of the third period, they're up 3-0 with 4 minutes left in the third period. And the miracle by Toronto to come back from a 3-goal deficit with 4 minutes left on the clock, emptying the net twice. I think 2 or 3 times. It was nuts. I couldn't believe what I was watching on Friday. Like, oh my God, the Leafs just come back from a 3-0 deficit when they themselves, the previous night, shat a 3-0 lead to lose in overtime? I was stunned. Because not only did they come back from a 3-0 deficit, they won in overtime from Austin Matthews. And I figured, dude, Toronto doesn't face Black Friday. They're forcing a game 5 for Sunday. I can't believe it. They got the fucking juice going. They grabbed the momentum, Austin Matthews, and bitch slap to the Shadow Realm on Sunday. Holy shit. Toronto Maple Leafs crapped the fucking bed on Sunday. Game 5, 3-0 to lose the series 3-2 against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Now, I am going to say this right now. Do not disrespect the Columbus Blue Jackets. This is a squad just loaded. You'd be very surprised how loaded the squad is. And the goalie tandem, like we talked about with Merzlikins and Korpisalo, is honestly one of the best in the league right now. I would say that just straight up. And defense, Jones, Werenski, I mean, the depth guys in the second and third line too. This is a squad in Columbus, man. And they were disciplined, strict, in a way, cold to not get their fucking emotions all tangled up. Unlike the Toronto Maple Leafs. Dude! I mean, listen. I'll be real honest. I like the Toronto Maple Leafs. I do. But I made some money off the Toronto Maple Leafs losing. Took the Columbus Blue Jackets reverse puck line -1.5 at plus 350, boys and girls. That was some real good shit. Shout out to the Columbus Blue Jackets and John Tortorella, you beautiful monosyllabic beast, you fucking A. But yeah, Toronto just a real heartbreaking loss, this one. I mean, the Boston Game 7s, they're a meme. They're fantastic. They're also heartbreaking for Toronto fans. But, dude, what in the fuck are you going to do in the offseason? You have to address the blue line, man. You have to address what the fuck happened between 4 players and $40+ million and the missing offense. What the fuck is going on, Toronto? That was horrible. And I want Toronto to do well. It's that fucking Steve Dangle. When I just started watching hockey a couple years back, I stumbled onto Steve Dangle's video and I thought, oh, this team looks pretty interesting. And I researched the history of the Maple Leafs and I think, cool, this team is pretty interesting to watch. And I catch up with Steve Dangle's videos from time to time, especially during losses, because the quality of the reaction is just priceless and beautiful. But unknowingly, I have a bit of sympathy for the Maple Leafs. And when you have sympathy and some sort of emotion, when you get disappointed, you are going to fucking vocalize that shit. And honestly, I looked at that fucking loss for the Maple Leafs and just thought, really, $40 million fucking dollars is what you get from that? Like, really? You score 0? And I get it. John Tavares hits the fucking post, yada, yada, yada. Dude, you can't just blame that one fucking post hit. It's that entire 60 minutes, 3 separate periods, each separate shifts that you couldn't get shit done. And wow, Toronto, wow. At least, coming into Monday morning, you would have had some optimism. Because yes, boys and girls, the #1 overall pick was going to go to any of the 8 losers of the playoff qualifiers. So if you lost out of the playoff qualifiers, you had a 12.5% chance to win the draft lottery. Now, here's the crazy part. The Detroit Red Wings were dog shit all season. I mean, they were the worst of the worst. I mean, they basically broke records of being terrible. But they won the 4th overall pick. The Ottawa Senators had 2 top 5 picks. They landed at 3 and 5. The LA Kings have #2. And, kudos to them. I'm a LA Dodgers and fucking Lakers fan, but not a Kings fan. Never been a Kings fan. But I can respect the Kings bolstering their fucking farm system consistently the last 2 years and last 3 years, honestly. They've been pretty good about it, I would imagine. And adding a #2 overall pick can really bring them out of the doghouse. And they've been looking much better this season. And curious to see how that goes. So with all of those teams that were already eliminated, the fucking playoff qualifier losers had a 12.5% chance to win the #1 overall pick. So if you're the fucking Kings, which I don't think you'd be all that sad, but if you were the Red Wings, the Senators, and definitely the fucking Sharks, you're crying. You're fucking crying. Because if you at least just made it to the fucking playoff qualifiers and lost, you had a 12.5% chance to win the fucking draft lottery. Insane. But that got me for like the last week or so, like 2 weeks, when I made that fucking educated guessing video, thinking Pittsburgh's going to win that #1 overall pick. I thought it was some, hockey god cruelty shit that was going to happen. But it turns out the winner of the #1 overall pick was the New York Rangers. The first time they have won the #1 overall pick since 1965. Crazy how time flies. And for the Rangers, hey, maybe Lafreniere is going to be that next piece to get you over that hump. You know, obviously Lundqvist is going to be heading out. Good chunk of that fucking number is going to go away in terms of salary cap, and maybe you add more pieces on defense, maybe depth on offense, and maybe get a cup. Right? I mean, the whole thing with 94, maybe you buckle up and get on down. But it's going to be very curious to watch how the Rangers handle themselves with that number 1 overall pick. They're not going to trade that shit. Why the fuck would you? Lafreniere looks like a beast. And yeah, you had a 12.5% chance to win the number 1 overall pick, and you did. So congratulations to the New York Rangers, because you did get swept. So at least that's a consolation prize. You get swept, you get the number 1 overall pick after you lose the playoff qualifiers. Crazy, right? Crazy how this shit works. What's crazier is now we actually have round 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs all set. All the matchups are in, and I want to go through each of these series very briefly and tell you what I think is going to happen just based on who wins and maybe some interesting tidbits here and there. So in the Eastern Conference, let's start off with the Boston Bruins taking on the Carolina Hurricanes. I think the Hurricanes win this 4-2. Boston doesn't look all that hot. I don't know if they're going to be able to turn it on after an 0-3 start in the round robin. I mean, momentum doesn't really seem to be in their favor. Carolina Hurricanes look deadly. Aho, Svechnikov, and then you go on the fucking defensive side. I mean, you got Slavin just doing the work there, and Mrazek and Reimer, not the greatest goalie tandem, but they do their shit. They do it well. And if they could just suppress down the perfection line with Bergeron, Pasternak, and Marchand, I think Carolina's going to have a bit of fun, and maybe they win it in less. But I got the Hurricanes winning that series in 6. And we move on into the series involving the Washington Capitals taking on the New York Islanders. Barry Trotz against his old team in the Washington Capitals. And I have Barry Trotz's Islanders winning 4-3. Game 7. I don't know what it is, but could potentially be the, missing John Carlson talk. But, as good as Ovechkin will be, Kuznetsov, he's going to do his shit. I just don't know if you're going to beat out the metronome team known as the Islanders. Barry Trotz just methodically just figuring your shit out. I think he can do it. I think he's going to prove a lot of, doubters of the Islanders wrong. And Islanders got pieces, man. They got good pieces there, too. Don't underestimate them. And they had a pretty good fucking playoff qualifier. Other than the fact that they kind of let Game 3 go. So I could see 1 or 2 of those games just kind of petering out for the Islanders, and they just lose, and then eventually they go to Game 7 and just come up clutch. And Washington Capitals just still, at least you have the fucking trophy, right? You still have the Stanley Cup from 2018. At the behest of my Vegas Golden Knights. But it is what it is. It is what it is. And the best thing about what it is the fact that you have, oh my God, in round 1, the rematch of rematches, the Tampa Bay Lightning taking on the Columbus Blue Jackets. And I have the CBJ winning it 4-1. You know why? Hedman probably out. Stamkos probably out. Kucherov barely fucking shows off in a fucking playoff. And what Point's going to do something? Maybe. But Vasilevsky is going to just get fried up there. Because Dubois, Atkinson, like we talked about with the defense, Jones, Werenski, and that dude, Foodie. That's going to be a fucking problem for Tampa Bay. And again, Tortorella, mastermind of the tactics, right? He's going to spank the shit out of John Cooper. No fucking problem. No fucking problem. That's how I see it. John Cooper's a fucking fraud. I don't want to hear the 62 wins. None of that shit. Doesn't matter. You got swept last season by a team that was facing a major exodus from a majority of its star players. So, yeah, Tampa. You got a lot to prove this season, and it starts with the rematch, and I think it's going to go horribly wrong for Tampa. Horribly wrong. And yeah, dude, I've watched Tampa Bay in real life. Watched them play against the LA Kings a couple years back, and that was actually a great fucking game. But when you have the talent and you just choke on yourselves, I'm not gonna fucking be happy for you or pat you on the back. I'm gonna fucking call you out for what it is, mediocrity. Jesus, dude. And you know, speaking of mediocrity, I know a lot of people shit on the Montreal Canadiens, myself included. I shit on Canadiens fans sometimes. A lot of times. I shit on Montreal a lot. But despite, you know, perceived shittiness, Montreal, surprising a lot of people as the 12th seed. They're going to be matched up with the Philadelphia Flyers. And I think the Flyers win this series 4-2. But don't be shocked when Carey Price makes every single one of these games way closer than it needs to be. Because Carey Price is that goalie you pay that money for and you get the results each and every time. Unlike Sergei Bobrovsky, but Carey Price is going to be that anchor in the back, and it's going to be left up to the young guys up front, you know, Suzuki, Tatar, I mean, even Domi, Dunal, any of these cats to fucking get going. I mean, Kokoniemi also comes to mind as somebody who is a young cat who's had a really good series, but I think Philadelphia, man, I've been saying this since the educated guessing. I think Philadelphia is going to win the cup, and this is going to be a huge test for them, you know, based on my projection, right? But I see them coming out with a nice win here against the Montreal Canadiens, which brings us along to the Western Conference, and we start off with the St. Louis Blues taking on the Vancouver Canucks, and I'm going with the upset here. I think the Canucks win this series 4-2. I don't know what it is. Maybe St. Louis's lethargy in the round robin. Maybe, you know, the 4-month layoff. I don't know. I just have this weird feeling the Vancouver Canucks, who have entered the playoff fray for the first time in many years, are going to feel jolted and energized, and something that I don't think the St. Louis Blues team is going to have, like that youthful exuberance, because now you're cup winners. You're going to defend your cup for a potential back-to-back run. I think the fatigue is going to show up a little bit. Now, this isn't the same timeline as a regular fucking timeline, with the whole Kung Flu shit. But somehow, some way, I just see the St. Louis Blues just kind of farting themselves out, and maybe one or two games Vancouver just outright beats them, but I see potential implosions within St. Louis. But we'll see how that series goes, kids. So let's talk about the next series, and the Dallas Stars taking on the Calgary Flames. I think this goes to Game 7, and to me it's a toss-up, but I'll take the Calgary Flames just because of the offense. That's really all I have to say. Although the X factor for me in Dallas is Ben Bishop. If Ben Bishop just becomes the playoff monster that he was last season, at least I think 2 years ago when they got knocked out in round 1, I thought Ben Bishop was doing pretty well. Was that last season or 2 years ago? I forget. But if Ben Bishop shows out, I think you can definitely win within a 7-game series at Game 7. But I'll take Calgary for now. I will take Calgary 4-3, which moves us into the next series, the Colorado Avalanche taking on the Arizona Coyotes. Colorado winning 4-1. As good as Arizona has been looking, I think Colorado, they're just a better team all around. And that moves us into the final matchup of round 1. The number 1 seed of the West, Vegas Golden Knights, taking on the number 12 seed out of the playoff qualifiers, the Chicago Blackhawks. And I have the Golden Knights winning this series 4-2. Now, why do I say 2 games? Well, I could actually put an asterisk and say 3 games. Because the Blackhawks are no fucking pushover. They got Crawford, who is still a beast in the net when he needs to be. Oh, yeah, dude, I won a couple of cups. Forgot I'm that good. Yeah. He wants to switch it on, he can fucking do it. Kubalik, beast. Doc, Animal, and you got Patrick Kanes, Jonathan Taves, Duncan Keith, Alex DeBrincat. Dude, that's a squad. They got a squad. And I'm afraid for certain Vegas Golden Knights fans who are going to get all up in their fucking arrogance and entitlement, think, oh, we're going to just beat the fucking Chicago Blackhawks outright. Not really. I've seen that Vegas defense and how fucking piss poor they can manage a puck inside their own. Could be troublesome. And if the goalie tandem doesn't work, holy shit, you better pray that fucking offense shows up, especially on the power play. They can be a bit disappointing in power play fucking shit, the Vegas Golden Knights, but don't underestimate Chicago. They have been looking really good throughout the playoff qualifiers, and if you underestimate your opponents, you will die. That's what happens in the Stanley Cup. Like, that's just what happens in these playoffs. So, dust your shit, Vegas Golden Knights. We need a win. The ultimate goal is the cup, guys. And I don't want to hear no fucking excuses. I'm going to watch as many fucking games as I can and hope that some of these educated guessing go my way. So I could just do a little bit of a, I told you so kind of shit. But all in all, I'm just going to enjoy the hockey. I'm just going to enjoy the hockey. It's going to be fucking amazing. Because ultimately, dude, hockey is back. And it's more glorious than ever. God damn. It's beautiful. Helps me take my mind off all this stupid shit going on right now. You know, with the world and all that. Especially this country. And on the next episode of the Sky Lounge, we might delve into some current events, some analysis, and maybe some philosophy. Who the fuck knows? Fucking hate it. But this was a nice distraction of sports. We need it. We always do. All right? All right, motherfuckers. I appreciate you dropping by this episode. Follow me at The Sky Lounge on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Google Music. And also check out The Sky Lounge on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Until next time, kids. Fuck off.